She didn't believe that she was guided by Isis. She didn't worship Isis. She was the reincarnation of Isis. Hello and welcome to another episode of Goddess Hangs.
Episode 128.
Woo! We made it!
We really did.
I'm Sadie.
And I'm Juliet, obviously.
And we created the Goddess Hangs podcast to inspire you to live magically.
Yes, we did.
We did.
And to live in your power and your purpose and to be an empowered, magical, cute witch and do all the things that make you come alive.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Speaking of all of those things, make sure you are RSVP'd because it's happening tomorrow, I think, when this comes out. Our free live event, Discover Divine Purpose. It's going to be so juicy and so fun. We're going to talk all about how when we were first starting out and learning so much about our purpose, our power, and we were feeling a little bit stuck on getting those concepts to actually work in our life, how we made that shit happen, how we got really clear on living in our purpose, living in our power. You're invited. So show notes, get the link, make sure you're RSVP'd.
And it's very immersive and very interactive and very much about you as well. So you'll discover more about your own purpose and your own magic. And it's going to be fun. We love a free event. We love being able to give back. Oh, and speaking of things that are free that we're going to be giving as a gift, in the next month, I would say, Goddess Hangs is releasing publicly things that were once behind closed doors, which is some amazing meditations, some amazing guided meditations. You'll find us on Spotify. It's going to be so exciting. We're going to be podcasters and artists. We're not singing, but we are talking.
The long-awaited Goddess Hangs first album drop. It's not what we thought it was going to be. All of our riffs and songs through the ages, but it is going to be some juicy motherfucking meditations. It's going to be awesome. So keep an eye out for that. We'll make a big announcement. It's going to be amazing.
Get excited to relax. Get excited to have a dance party. Maybe we'll do like a live stream of I don't know. We'll come up with something fun. We'll like premiere it. We'll do a whole thing.
It'll be so fun.
Because I'm today my music video came out for Born in a Different Time, which I'll talk a little bit about later. But it's so funny. The second I release something, I'm already on to the next thing. So I'm like, okay, great. That'll be out tomorrow. And let's make a meditation album. Dun, 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 dun. And I set the whole thing. I'm so excited. So, yeah. Okay. So Discover Divine Purpose, free event. Goddess Hangs album, volume 1, dropping soon. Get ready to relax.
And there's like 1 week left. If you want to join us in Bali. When this episode comes out, I will be like on a plane on my way to Bali, which is very exciting. So I'll be there like 2 months ahead of time. I'll spend lots of time there. I'll learn the ins and outs for all of us. And then you can come join me and join Juliet and all of the amazing goddesses that are already joining us. And it's going to be so magical, so powerful, so fun. I've been doing research on like, what else do I need to do while I'm in Bali since I have all this extra time there? And like, it's unbelievable our itinerary because we're doing everything. Everything that you search and research that it's like, these are the must-dos. We're doing all of it. And so I'm like, great, I can just relax when I'm there and not do any touristy things and wait for all my friends to arrive and we get to do it all together. It's going to be so amazing. So last chance 200 will get you $200 off. There's cash flow friendly payment plans if you vibe with that. And we're staying in beautiful resorts. We're hosting amazing workshops. We're doing all of the must see, must do, must experience on the island of Bali. It's going to be absolutely incredible. So please reach out if you have any questions, but we would love, love, love to have you come join us. Last chance.
So excited. So excited. So today we are going to discuss who we consider a real life goddess, a goddess that we're going to try to hang out with energetically today. Our special guest, Cleopatra.
Cleopatra. Welcome to the show, Cleopatra.
Welcome, Cleopatra. Woo! The studio audience goes crazy. But before we talk about Cleopatra, before we hopped on, Sadie said, I have juicy stories for you. So we're going to skip me and circle back to me after. I can't wait. We haven't caught up. It's been a busy week. And Sadie, what is new with you?
Okay, I got the juice. So first of all, I've started texting you this 17 times, but I was like, no, just save it for the podcast. It'll be more fun. So had a little flingy fling.
Oh, I mean, I thought personally you'd be on like the 9th one by now just because you're so magnetic. But okay, this is like the major fling. Sorry, I didn't mean to downplay it. Okay, here's the fling.
You're like,
sorry,
I've been waiting for this.
I know. I'm like, ready for it. Okay, fling time.
Yeah, so now I'm back in Busan, but I was on the island of Jeju for a week, and my cousin and my Alexa and Reagan, the girls I've been traveling with, they're scuba divers. They go they want to dive in every country we go to. They keep trying to convince me to get certified, and I'm like, no. But I'm like, I love that for you, and I love that hot guys are taking you scuba diving that I can then meet. And hang out with. So Alexa and I were like on a little walk, and then we were going through this park, and then she was like, oh, this is the dive shop that we like dove through the other day. Like, let's go see if they're there. Let's go say hi. And they were there. And I'm like, this is a bunch of men, and there's like tall hottie man here. So okay. Actually, there's 2 hot guys. So we ended up just like, they were like, come on. They were like having dinner and drinking, and we ended up getting like super drunk with them and having like a great time. And first of all, not the guy that I hooked up with, but this other guy was 50 years old. He asked me, how old do you think I am? And I was like 25. Like, this man, and this is like the sexiest motherfucker I have ever seen in my life. I was like, and like, he didn't speak very much English. So mostly the guy that I hooked up with was interpreting what he was saying, but he's just like really animated, speaking in Korean. He's so hot. I was just like, I could just stare at you all night talking to me and not understand a word coming out of your mouth.
Gorgeous.
Let me call you Appa. Like, let me call you Daddy. But that is not. But yeah, then the other guy, this other Korean boy, he was tall and he was funny and weird, and we had a little flingy fling, and it was really fun.
Oh my gosh, was it like a multi-time flingy fling or like a one-night flingy fling?
No, we had a little one-night flingy fling.
Oh my gosh. Well, that means I'm always so grateful when Sadie has these moments, because it means that like abundance will follow, ideas will follow. I'm like, please fill the calendar.
It's true. It makes me feel alive. I feel alive every day. I don't have a problem with that. But like, I was just like, oh, it really does rev up my creative energy. And I was like, thanks. Thank you for your service. You can go on. I'm going to focus all this energy back into work now that I feel alive.
Oh my God.
So thank you very much. So shout out to that guy. Not going to tell you his name.
But it rhymes with. No, I'm kidding. Oh my God. That's so exciting.
So it was really fun. And yeah, I was like, I'm so dramatic in my mind. I'm like, it's been forever, but it hasn't. I've been traveling for 2 months. It hasn't been that long. I was like, do I even remember how to kiss somebody? I mean, I was like...
Did he say anything? Were there any like, I wish you lived here. Let's make the night last forever. Like anything? I shouldn't say that. I've had some travel moments in my time. But yeah, was there anything that was like suave that was said?
Okay, so first of all, like there was a lot of like talking while we were like, you know, like, and I like he spoke incredible English, but like a strong accent, you know, so I kept being like, what? And eventually I was like, it just seems like I don't need to know what's being said. It's just enjoy. I was like, what? Oh, yeah. No, it was funny because we were both very on board with like, this is just tonight having fun. And so like, it was just
was
very
he also
like,
50?
No, he was 29.
Oh, love.
Yeah, love that for me. But we were just very like, we were both like, we love traveling and like having these things because you can be like madly in love with each other for a day and just be like, all right, never gonna see you again. That's fine.
Bye.
When we said goodbye, he was like, I loved you. I said, I loved you too in past tense.
There it is. I knew there was something. Gosh, I loved you. Ooh, what an indie movie.
Yeah, it was fabulous. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. It was just what I needed.
Good.
What I didn't know I needed. It felt great. It felt great because, you know, I haven't like had a crush or anything happen since my breakup. So it just felt like it was like a moment, you know? It was a moment. It was
He
great.
loved you.
He loved me.
He loved you. He really
and he was really
you.
weird. And you know, I love weird people. So it was great.
When will I see you again? Oh, never. That's great.
It was wonderful.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. So I had my little Korean fling. It was wonderful. In the final moments, I'm like, I've been here for a month. We snuck that in there. Now I can move on to the next country and see what happens there. Fabulous.
Oh, Bali. Oh, please. Bali's going to be, something's happening in Bali because you'll be there for a while.
I'm going to be there for a while. It's such a haven because like I'm manifesting my next partner to be like a digital nomad type of person so that like they can come to LA with me. We can travel together, like that stuff. And like, that's like the haven is Bali, you know, for those people. Like everyone goes to Bali that is in that world, all the influencers, all the travel creators, whatever. So I'm just like manifesting my super successful, you know, like travel person. And I was like, maybe that's why my intuition was like, no, go there now. Maybe there's someone there for me to meet. I don't know. We'll see.
We shall see.
But yeah, I'm very excited for Bali. Very, very excited. A couple more days, counting down the days. Let's see. Yeah. Love that night. The 50-year-old guy was so hot. Probably the hottest person. I'm like, I know I should be saying this about the guy I hooked up with. He was super hot too. Don't get me wrong. But I was like, this is like the hottest person I've ever seen in real life. I can't believe this. But yeah, so that was the most. Now the rest of this is going to be boring.
It's not.
Okay, I loved Jeju Island. I was there for a week. We stayed on the south. It's this very small island. We stayed on like the south part in the city that I'm probably saying wrong, but Sugwipo. And like I loved being in Jeju because the area we were in, the city, like you could walk everywhere. Like you didn't have to take buses or subways. Like I'm like such a public transit girly now. I don't care about it anymore. We all remember when I was scared of it so much. Completely over that now. But it was nice to just be in like a small, quaint area. You could walk to everything. There was like this amazing market I'd go to every day and get street food. And I could walk to this park every day and I'd like take my yoga mat and like lay in the grass and like read and journal. And it was just such a like peaceful, I just felt like life was so romantic there, even before my my romantic moment. It was like the perfect, at the time of recording, the new moon in Taurus is today, but we had just had like the new moon in Taurus coven meeting, and like I just felt so connected to like the earth, and like it was so yummy to be there. And I talked about, like, last week I had this beautiful, in my first couple of days, this beautiful like wandering walk to this waterfall, and there was another beautiful waterfall that we did another day. And it's just so beautiful. And then one of the coolest things we did there is we went to another Korean bathhouse, but this one was like a hot spring. So we took this bus to Sangsaban. Again, I know I say these things wrong. Mountain, and there's these hot springs, and so you go into this bathhouse, get naked. You know, we love that part, and they're carbonated hot springs. And so this water has carbonic acid, which has a bunch of like benefits for your skin. It can help with like eczema and whatever. It's good for your skin. And I don't have eczema. That just stood out to me on the sign. What was great was that it was tourist friendly. So the signs were both in Korean and English, which was very exciting. We knew what was going on. It was much less scary. But slightly less thrilling because we knew what was going on. But this water was so cool. So there was a bunch of tubs, and like they have like different temperatures and stuff, but you go in like a hot tub first to like open up your pores, and then you go into the hot spring water, which is not actually hot, the carbonic acid water. And it's cool. It's not like cold water, but it's not heated in any way. It's just cool water. So you get in, you're kind of like, ooh, it's kind of chilly from being in the hot water. But the carbonic acid, it like activates the warmth receptors in your skin. So it starts to like bubble up on your skin, and you start to feel hot, even though the water is cool. It was the weirdest sensation. It felt so good. And then you could pop the bubbles on you, and you'd see all the bubbles like bubbling up. It was really fun. And then there was like outdoor, you put a swimsuit on, there was like an outdoor space that had like beautiful views with more tubs, and it was so relaxing and so lovely. And then now I'm back in Busan for a few days, and I'm going to be heading to Bali in a few. And I'm just like so excited. Like ever since I like learned that Bali was a place I wanted to go there, it's like been a bucket list thing. And I think like for most of my life, it felt like this like fantasy that like, oh, I'll never make it all the way there. Like I'm the kind of person who like only goes to like places that are kind of close, like Mexico or maybe the Caribbean, you know, like as like a teenager and stuff. Like I never like envisioned myself, I don't know, being able to go somewhere so like far away. And so the fact that I'm going to go there and like be there for 2 months, and I'm just like very grateful and very excited. So yeah, that's what's new with me. That's it.
That's huge. That's huge. A little fun, a little relocating. We love it.
Okay. So Juliet, what's new with you?
So, well, I got my nails done today. They're Barbie pink with sparkles.
Cute.
I thought, let's just go crazy. So I have been I'm kind of in like a little dreamland right now. So I knew that like getting engaged was exciting, and it was exciting for me, and it's exciting for Victor, but I did not understand like the gravity at which it would be exciting for everybody we know, and all the families and the cards and flowers and dinners, and like just anytime we run into anybody, like, oh, I found out, and so many people told us that they found out and they were crying, and I was like, we didn't cry, but we gave everybody a happy cry, only because it like felt so right, and it was so exciting. And I tend to not cry. Like my graduations, I never cried. Like is like a big step. I'm just like happy and present. But yeah. Anyways, like I hope I cry when I have a baby, and I'm not just like, here they are.
Done. I did it.
High five.
Meanwhile, I'm crying over everything. My cousin sent me this thing because all my jeans are like falling off of me because they stretch out because there's no dryers anywhere. And she sent me a thing that some article headline that was like, studies show that crying can help you lose weight. And she's like, I think it's not the lack of dryer. It's that you've been crying all the time. Mostly happy tears.
Well, good.
Almost all.
Good. I had my like 3 days in Rome where I was like, wow,
you get it.
Emotions. Yeah. And then I like went back on that pill, and then they are trying to add another one. So now I'm on 2, which is a whole other thing. But like, I have never been happier. I have never in my whole life. Because I was like, oh, I don't know. Do I really want to do another one? I was trying to get off one. So yeah, instead of getting off of it, I doubled it, and now I have another. But I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I'm so motivated. Anyways, this is not what today's episode
important.
Is about. But it's been, but I cannot cry. I'm too happy. We went to this event. A friend of ours had a graduation. She got her master's. She had this graduation party. It was designed like a wedding. It was so unbelievably gorgeous. There was a live musician. There was a Pinterest top of the state-of-the-art beautiful table settings. There was pizza being made. There was gelato. There was espresso. There were speeches. I mean, it was... I was like,
taking down notes for my wedding.
I was like, for my graduation, we went to the Olive Garden, but this is amazing. And I thought the Olive Garden was like a big deal. Like, oh my God, the whole family gets to go to the Olive Garden.
I fucking love Olive Garden. Give me Olive Garden any day of the week. I miss Olive Garden.
You know what I love? And I'm going to say this proudly. I love a chain restaurant.
I've always said that.
And I've always said that. I
mean that.
Dated this guy who was, I think he was like 16 years older than me. I was 21. It didn't work out. But he was like...
I had one of those when I was 21 too. I just remembered that.
Oh.
What are these guys doing?
I don't know. It's like, I can't even be mad at
you
me.
could drive a car when I was born. me saying how hot the 50-year-old who's the same age as my dad was earlier. It doesn't count once you're in your 30s. Once you're in your later 20s, it doesn't count. But when you're 21, I'm sorry. I know that's legal, but it's too young still.
I was a teenager until 3 years ago.
Yeah.
We started this podcast and I began my young adulthood. So, yeah. So anyways, this guy said to me 10 years ago, he said, wherever you want to go for Valentine's Day, I'll take you. You just name the place. And me, I said,
you're like, anywhere?
I want to go to CPK. I love CPK. And this man complained the entire time. He's like, freaking chain restaurants. And I was like, I'm sorry. You know where I ate a couple nights ago? The Cheesecake Factory. I love the Cheesecake Factory.
Shout out Cheesecake Factory.
We should open the Goddess Haynes Cheesecake Factory. Open a franchise.
That I really love is Red Lobster. Love Red Lobster.
Red Lobster.
The cheese biscuits. Are you freaking kidding me? I would just go there for the biscuits and leave if I could. And I love Chili's. I fucking love Chili's.
I was just going to say, you know where I
passionately will stand on Chili's platform.
You know where Irene took me? Irene took me out for celebration engagement lunch to Chili's. We went to Chili's. And you know what is special about Chili's? It's because in the office, Pam says, I feel God in this Chili's.
And I feel that every time I go to Chili's. Every time I go to Chili's, I'm like,
It's always a good time. The prices are always great.
You know, it's like all of so these are the chain restaurants that aren't fast food, right? Like there's just something about them.
You go to them in any state, they're exactly the same.
You feel camaraderie. You're like, I see you over there. You're like, you fuck with this stuff too. Like, yeah, we're the same. We're of the same kind of people, and I love it.
When you get home, we're going to start taking our meetings at Chili's. I think it's
my mouth is literally watering right now. Like when your taste buds hurt because you want something so bad, my mouth just went.
Chili's. It was so good. The quesadilla salad. Oh, molten lava cake. Okay. Why am I bringing any of this up? So
we really lost
What the heck was I talking about? I was saying we're engaged. It's exciting. Everyone's excited.
Celebrating with you. You went to a graduation that you went to Olive Garden for your graduation. That's where we left off. That's where we got yanked out of the.
We went to this graduation. What was our graduation? We went to this graduation. The excitement, people. I think this is what shocked me, and maybe this is dumb, and maybe it's dumb. So I've spent my whole life trying to achieve really like big things, like I'm the valedictorian. Here's my 18th studio album. Like, here's look at this thing I made, right? And people are like, that's cool. But the second somebody finds out that you're getting married, the joy and the excitement, I've never, ever experienced anything like this. People cry like they just got the best. It's the sweetest thing. And so it's been fun just being like a bundle of joy in everybody's life. I didn't realize. And we had dinner with, I'll circle back to the graduation party. We had dinner with Victor's family last night, and they were like, officially welcome to the family. And I just felt so comfortable, and I could like see my whole future laid out. I mean, it was just so exciting. And so back to the graduation party and my inability to cry now that I am so happy.
It's like, why isn't Juliet crying?
I was the only one who didn't cry. It was this unbelievable speech where the girl, the woman who graduated, you're going to cry when I tell you this. The woman who graduated, it was an Italian studies master degree. And the way that she got through this program was because she had a friend who was also in the program who spoke Italian and helped her and coached her and went through her papers. And the story is being told, and all of a sudden it turns into this story about, and while this friend was coaching me, she got diagnosed with cancer, and I went with her to chemo, and everybody is bawling. And I'm looking at Victor and I'm like, I can't feel. I was like, I want to feel.
Oh,
it was so tender and touching. And all this girl talked about was like, once this is all over, we're going to get an F cancer cake. And so at the girl's graduation party, she surprised her friend with that cake in front of everybody. It was the most like remarkable moment. I cannot cry about it, but it was amazing. It should be in People magazine. It was incredible. It was incredible. My faucet is turned off for the time being, but wow.
Oh,
it was.
That is really special.
I see she's crying. It was like,
okay, anything with cancer is always going to get me.
Of course.
Because, you know, that's too easy to get me to cry.
Everybody.
I'm not crying.
Oh my God. It was the most beautiful event.
Oh.
And
that just makes it even more powerful. Graduating is a huge deal on its own, right? That's a journey. Yeah. But then to like have been on this journey with somebody and like obviously you like love them, you adore them, they mean so much to you, they've helped you so much. And then for them to get on the other side of two journeys, like I'm imagining graduating with her and also beating cancer. Like,
I was like, what a wild 2 years these women had together. And it was like
powerful
to be in that. It was very, very, very touching and really beautiful. Wow. So yeah, just seeing lots of friends. If you like indie, let me pivot. If you like indie folk, dreamy, ethereal music, my music video is out now. It's called Born in a Different Time. It's a very honest, heartfelt song. A lot of people are already reaching out saying like, I needed this or this touched my heart. And the whole vibe is just like, you know, obviously I believe anything's possible. Obviously I teach on manifestation with Sadie and mindset and magic, and I'm committed to this. And I'm human and I have feelings. And sometimes I feel like, how come my parents were at this stage by this point? And the song is really like a surrendering and a letting go of that feeling and realizing that like we're allowed to do things in our own way. So I'm so excited. I got to live my pop star dreams. So that's out. And then my mom and I are starting to elopement plan. It's going to be like an elopement. But with like a few friends. So you'll be there.
So you're doing something small.
Very.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing it in Vegas? Am I allowed to come dressed as Elvis?
Yeah. Absolutely. Let me tell you what I know right now.
Bye-bye.
Let me tell you what I know right now, even though it might change 12 times. So if you listen to the podcast out of order, oh well. So we were going to do one of those little like, either, when you go in and it's like $100 and it's like the classic little
like
chapels.
Chapels. Mm-hmm.
So I was super about that. And then I really looked at them more and I was sort of having a hard time picturing it. And my mom, and I was like, I'm open to it, but like, I don't know, maybe something a little nicer. And so my mom was over today and she kind of put her foot down and she's like, no, we are not doing it there. Like she's like, we're doing something like that. She's really excited. And I'm very, like, she and I are kind of partnering. Obviously Victor is inputting his opinion, but I am way more excited by it than I ever thought I was going to be. I was just like, oh, whatever, like, we'll do whatever. It'll be easy, whatever. And it will be easy, but I'm really excited. So it's fun. I'm enjoying the engagement era.
Oh my God.
So next spring, and we're going to do it somewhere where we can live stream it because most people won't be able to come. So, So if you're listening, get on our email list because I'll send you the link if you'd like to watch our wedding.
Oh my God, everyone's invited.
Everyone's invited. Save the date. I don't have the date yet, but
next spring.
But isn't that fun?
Gosh.
I was like, well, just and you know what's better than watching a wedding in the comfort of your own home? Nothing.
Nothing. So I watched the last wedding I attended was a live stream.
Amazing.
I was in my pajamas. I didn't have to get ready. Actually, you know what? I love dressing up and getting ready, and I love dancing. So I prefer an in-person wedding. But I did attend one live stream one for my cousin because it was, when we all were not meeting in person and they didn't want to postpone their wedding. But so it was still fun and still special. And I was just like, this is so nice that I get to like see them together and hear their vows. And I've cried and as I do, had to get a new pair of pants because they didn't fit anymore.
I want to tell you, everybody, right now, if I don't cry at my wedding, it's not because I'm not thrilled. It's because I'm physically unable to.
In the wedding video, they'll pan to me and I'll just be sobbing, and that'll be enough. I'll cry on behalf of Juliet.
We'll CGI some tears on my face.
I'm just in the back like...
Look, the depression was getting bad. I had to take care of it. So, but I'm really excited. I'm so excited. It's very exciting.
Okay, I have one more question, but you don't have to answer it on the podcast.
Okay.
Do you have a vision for what your wedding dress is going to look like? You can just say yes or no. You don't have to tell me.
No, I'll tell you what it is. No, I'll tell you what it is.
I'm like, I don't know if it's going to be like a surprise or something.
No.
I mean, I would make you tell me privately, but I didn't. So no secrets.
I am going to wear my mom's dress from the 80s, which has been airtight vacuum sealed since the day after the wedding. And it has a huge train and it has these like amazing sleeves. And at first I thought I would like alter it. And I was like, no, I'll just wear a really fun 80s dress. So that's the vibe. We're going to have so much fun in Vegas. And Elvis is going to pick us up in a pink Cadillac and drive us around. It's going to be a whole thing. This is the vision.
That's amazing.
But you're also welcome to dress up as Vegas. You can wear a bikini. You can wear a dinosaur costume. That's the part I literally don't care. Maybe only thing. I mean, if you want to wear, you could wear a wedding dress. I don't really care.
I'm not going to.
Shows up in a wedding dress. I'm like, okay, we'll get some content. Who got married? Comment below.
I I love events. Like I get so much joy out of like I spend so much time like what's my vibe and picking out like the dress, the shoes, the hair, the jewelry. I love an event. So you tell me is it Vegas the theme? Are we going 80s? You tell me and I will be in there 1,000%.
Oh yeah, I don't know yet, but I I will.
I'm excited.
I promise.
I'm excited. I'm excited to party and celebrate you guys.
It's gonna be really fun. It's gonna be really, really fun. Yeah. And again, I thought it was gonna be one thing, and then my mom was like really excited and very generous today and was like, what about this? And I'll show you separately. It's like,
oh my God, I can't wait.
The theme is so like on the nose. It's so good.
Ah! Oh my God.
So that's what's new with me. Just being a cute little fiance. And I'm just enjoying it. Like, I mean, hopefully I'll only do this once. So might as well really soak it up.
I feel like Juliet and Victor are going to be together forever, and I'm going to have like 4 husbands, and that's just fine.
I will comment on, I agree that me and Victor will be together forever. And I think your journey could go a lot of ways. I think you could have one person forever. I think you could have like a rotation of people who kind of like come during different seasons.
You know what I would do? So, okay, so we're about to learn about Cleopatra. And so therefore I learned a little bit about Elizabeth Taylor, who plays Cleopatra, because I watched her movie, which is so good. And let me tell you a little, this will be a good segue into the topic today. But Elizabeth Taylor, when she filmed Cleopatra, which is one of the most expensive films ever created, and if you've watched it, you're like, oh yeah, it's bananas. It's such a stunning film. Her wardrobe alone was like bananas, let alone the set. But so she filmed this when she was 29 years old, and at 29 years old, she was already on her 4th husband.
I love this for her.
I love this for her. And then on set, her and the actor who played Mark Antony, who I don't remember his name, but it doesn't matter. We're talking about Elizabeth Taylor here. But her and Mark Antony, the actor who played him, they were both married, and they both fell for each other, started having an affair. It was like this. It was like
Debbie Reynolds' husband? Debbie Reynolds' husband?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Shoot, what was his name? I watched a whole thing on her.
I just was reading this other day. I can't remember. I'm so bad at remembering. But I want to talk more about their relationship, but basically they ended up getting married, and then they got divorced, and then they got married again. And I'm like, that's some shit I would do.
Is it Eddie Fisher? The name just came to me.
Maybe.
Okay, I'm looking it up.
Look up Mark Antony, like actor Cleopatra. It's the actor. But so the chemistry that you see in that movie is very real.
Richard Burton.
Okay. Richard Burton. So the chemistry you see in this movie is very real. And this was the drama of the drama at this time. It was in all of the newspapers. They were like constantly like in each other's trailers. You could hear them like screaming and laughing and like, you know, doing it. And they were constantly getting in trouble. Like, I think like, so they were filming in Rome, and like the fucking Vatican, like felt it important enough. This was a big enough deal that they like had commentary on it. Like they were like, we have a statement about how outrageous and like how we don't support this relationship. Their chemistry was bananas. They were getting in trouble all over Rome for, what did they call it? They called it like vagabond fornicating or something. Like basically like having sex in public, like everywhere.
Oopsie.
They got banned from like Paris or something. I can't remember. They got banned from somewhere, like a whole ass city, because they were so outrageous, and they had this like wild chemistry, but it was like very toxic, whatever. But that was her 4th, and it was he was her 5th husband, and then she might have been married in between, and then they got married again. I think I can't remember how many husbands she had. Total.
7. I just looked at
7. But he was Yeah, she had 7 husbands and 8 marriages because 2 of them were him.
What a babe.
Although I've never gotten to that. I don't like marry people willy-nilly. That's not really me, but I break up with.
But you know what? Here's the thing.
With boys all the time.
If you and I were around in the 50s, we might be on a 3rd marriage by now.
That's true. I would absolutely have been married at least 3 times.
I think that's hot. Yeah. Genuinely.
Yeah.
She said, never mind.
I just love where they like got divorced and then because their relationship spanned over like 12 years and I don't know how long of a break there was in there, but like then they were like, let's get married again, and then they got divorced again. Like,
it looked like they divorced in 1974. They married for 10 years, divorced in 74, and then remarried in 1975 for 1 year, and then divorced.
That's literally me with all my boyfriends. I always get back together with them briefly before we actually end it.
Oh my God.
That's how I was like, I relate to that. I relate to that, Lizzie Taylor. I feel you. So Elizabeth Taylor is a woman that we could talk about her own magnetism and energy on a whole nother episode. She was so amazing as Cleopatra. Have you watched Cleopatra with Elizabeth Taylor?
No, but now
it's a 4-hour movie.
Oh,
4 hours. They take you through like, and I'm not saying it's all completely accurate. There's some things that learning more about her history that I think are a little bit misportrayed, but overall, usually movies are trying to like take out like things and like move the story along in 2 hours. No. It's 2 hours. There's like an intermission that pops up from when it used to like play in theaters. And then there's another 2 hours. So there's like Act 1 and Act 2. And it's basically her relationship with Julius Caesar and then her relationship with Mark Antony. And it's incredibly accurate for Hollywood. I would argue that it's a pretty good place to learn with pretty good accuracy like about her life compared to like the like actual historical things that I like read and watched that were not based on like romanticizing the story or anything like that. It's pretty incredible. And it's so beautiful. It's so I mean, it's the most stunning film. It's so good. It's so good. So let's dive in. Let's talk about Cleopatra.
Oh my gosh. So I feel like everyone has like a flickering interest in her. Like even from a really young age, it was like, oh yeah, Cleopatra's really cool. Ancient Egypt's really cool. But sometimes I think that's where it ends. So I'm excited. I'm so excited to do this deep dive because first of all, this is something I learned. She's closer. So when she lived, she was born in 69 AD.
BC.
Oh, thank you. BC. 69 BC. She was born and lived her life closer to today and the invention of the iPhone than when the Great Pyramids of Egypt were built. That was like thousands of years before her time. And I don't know why I always picture like, I think we all have this weird, what's it called? Mandela effect of like, yeah, she oversaw that, but she did not.
I actually had this thought the other day that would be a really good episode of like how our timelines are so like distorted. It's hard for our human brain to comprehend because another one that's a little off topic, but the T-Rex is closer to us than the Stegosaurus. That's how long the dinosaurs walked the earth.
Whoa.
Yeah. And so I was like, we should do a whole episode on like just distorted timelines and these things because it's really interesting and it really puts in perspective like the US is only like 200 years old.
I know. And we're a big old work in progress. Yeah.
And we're babies. We're like literal infants. And then, and I'm here in South Korea at these temples and different historical places and learning the timelines and then learning about Cleopatra and like that like how she's like closer to our time than when ancient Egypt built the pyramids. It's just puts you into perspective of like how long humans have walked this earth, and then how long before that, like the earth was, it's bananas. It's bananas.
Absolutely. So I wanted to put that into perspective for us, that like this wasn't as much as it was a long time ago, it wasn't as long, like just where it sort of sits in our timeline. We didn't discuss beforehand. I can tell you like facts that I have written down, and you can chime in whenever or you can tell facts and I can chime in. What would you prefer?
You lead with the facts. I have facts too, but I have a lot of just like romanticized thoughts about it. So you lead with some facts, and I'll fill in some facts if I have anything different, and also all my thoughts about it and what we can learn.
Okay, I love it. So I will be the encyclopedia. So she was born, she's Macedonian Greek. Her family is actually Greek. They're not Egyptian, but they rule Egypt. The Ptolemy family, this is her family line. They ruled for 300 years. And she was, I believe, the last, I wrote this down somewhere, but I can't find it. She was like the last.
She's the last pharaoh.
The last pharaoh.
And she ruled for 21 years, I believe. 20 or 21 years.
One thing that is, there are two things that everybody talks about. There's three things that everybody talks about with her that I thought were interesting and would open up conversations. And I'll sort of like drop them now, and then we can circle back to them. The first is everybody leads with the fact that her family was very, very, very inbred. Like her grandparents on both sides were all siblings. Like there was so much of that going on. And I really felt like when I looked up information about her, there was like this heavy emphasis on that. And it was almost like, obviously, you know, let's not do that. But I'm like, why are we focusing on this thing that she had absolutely no control over and not the incredible legacy she created? So I guess it's important to know for context, but I was like, there's a real heavy emphasis on this that I thought was a little unfair to her.
It's tradition of the time. Like royal families in all cultures tended to do that to keep the like quote bloodline pure. Like that was even a thing in the England line, I believe. That's why there's like histories of like different like rare blood disorders that go throughout the lineage, because it's very common in royal families throughout history, and to us we're like, oh, and it can and like, yeah, definitely, but it was pretty normal at the time, and it's just a part of like the weird royal obsession with like the outsiders are not worthy, you know, we can't taint our bloodline, you know. It's of the time for sure. It's
of the time. I just thought, I was like, if people look me up in X amount of years and their big focus is like of something that ran in my family, I'm like, this is distracting. The next point that everybody debates about, which to me was like, why are we even talking about this? So many debates. Was she beautiful? Was she ugly? Was she attractive? Was she not? Why are we asking that?
I thought this was pretty interesting as well. And the one account is from Plutarch, who wrote a lot about her life and Mark Antony's life. And that's where a lot of like history and what we know about Cleopatra comes from, is the writer Plutarch. And he says something along the lines of like, her beauty wasn't something to sneeze at. He says like, he basically says like, she wasn't necessarily more striking than the next woman, but when she spoke and when she walked into a room, she commanded attention. Like she didn't need to be the most beautiful physically, like her energy, she was like she was just, people were intoxicated by her, which I thought was really cool, and something I wanted to talk about, of like, I think, and some of the things I read about was like, she created this emphasis on like how she wanted word to be spread like Cleopatra is the most beautiful. She's the goddess. And I think this is portrayed in the Cleopatra movie very well, how she maneuvers her femininity in a way to make the men kind of feel like they have a say, but they never did. Like, she's very good at being like, I'm so beautiful, so you're gonna do this for me, right? She's very good at being like playing into her beauty, her femininity in a way where she's like, but I'm in control, and it's very cool. But it is interesting, the obsession. Like, they're like, well, she's portrayed this way on coins and she looks kind of masculine. Oh, but she wanted to look masculine, so people took her more seriously. That's not how she really looked. Oh, this and that. And it's like, let's focus on how she was the most educated and one of the most intellectual women in history. She spoke freaking how many languages? She was fluent. She typically spoke better than translators that were provided to her when she traveled. Like, she was a brilliant military strategist. She was, and on top of all of that, like an intoxicating feminine goddess, like, you know, woman that like could just like melt men in her hand. Like, this is like, I'm learning and embodying Cleopatra energy from here on out.
I thought it was really interesting when, you know, historically, there's a big story about a woman who did remarkable things and not so remarkable. I mean, you know, get killed off her siblings. Let's, you know, oops, let's not do that. But that there's a big debate over what she looked like, over
like, but was she hot?
Over the family, because she couldn't have done that. Like, only beautiful women hold power. Like, there was like this weird tone. She looked like, what her like ancestral DNA was, and then the third thing is everybody was calling her a seductress and everything that I read, and I'm like, I mean, maybe, or she's just brilliant, and that's what she had to do. You know, I loved what you said. I wrote down that she was ruthless. She did whatever she needed to do to keep her throne. She spoke 9 languages. She was the first person of the Ptolemy family in 300 years that spoke the language of her people. She was the first one to speak Egyptian because she wanted to speak to her people. She was obsessed with beauty and luxury. She took milk and honey baths. She had all sorts of beauty lotions and potions and concoctions. She had a perfumery, and she made this perfume, and everybody in the, I think beyond Egypt, like wanted to buy her signature scent. She was like an original celebrity in a way. She's like, this is the Cleopatra scent.
The brand.
The brand. And there's rumors that she had a pool filled with the perfume, so the palace like smelled a certain way, and that also when she would sail in to a new city and she was on the ship, she would like soak the sails in perfume so you could smell her before she arrived. And I was like, if that isn't the coolest, hottest thing I've ever heard in my life. She had charm. She was intelligent. She would spend time with mathematicians and scientists. She spent tons of time in the Library of Alexandria. She studied. She led wars at 21. She stabilized the economy. At one point, her brother exiled her. So before she offed her siblings, everybody was trying to fight for this power. So one of her younger brothers exiles her, and she raises an army, and she says, that's my throne. And she comes back and she gets rid of him and she takes her place back. You could not push this woman around for a second. You couldn't.
Well, and this is one of the most iconic stories, and this is her introduction to, this is how she meets Julius Caesar, her first baby daddy, because so basically her dad died and Rome was the executor of the will, like her dad and the, you know, king of Egypt was closely tied to Rome. Rome at this time, this is the peak of the Roman Empire. They're basically rulers of the world. And Julius Caesar is the master of Rome. And so they're the executor of the will, and the will says Cleopatra and her brother Ptolemy, they're co-rulers. So then they both want to, you know, be the only ruler, of course. And so then she gets exiled. She raises the 20,000 men. I wrote like misfits. She's convincing like thieves and criminals. She's like, come, if we win, then I'll pay you. Like, I don't have my shit right now, but trust me, I'm a rich bitch back home. If we win, I will pay you. Follow me. And they're all like, okay. She's like 17 or 18 years old.
I love her.
Are you fucking kidding me? And then Julius Caesar, and this is portrayed in the movie, and this is so good. This is a real story. So Julius Caesar comes to Egypt. He's chasing down this guy, Pompey or Pompey. I don't know why, but basically he gets to Egypt, and the little brother, who I believe is like 12 at this time, you know, he's sitting on the throne alone, and Julius is like, where's your sister? You're supposed to be co-ruling. And he's like, oh, she tried to kill me, so I had to exile her. And Julius Caesar's like, I don't know if I believe you. Like, I feel like you're trying to kill her and whatever. He's like, I don't know. And so he's staying at the palace. Cleopatra catches wind of this, and she's like, oh, I need to get in there now. Like, I need to get Julius Caesar on my side. He can help me take control. He can help get rid of my brother. But her brother knows this, right? Her brother knows she's going to try and get in. So he's got the guards up. She's got an army against her to get into her own palace. But she finds a way in. She has her servant wrap her up in a rug. This is a real story. Wrap her up in a rug, carry her in, and say, hey, Julius Caesar, Cleopatra has sent a gift for you. And it looks like this big rolled up rug. And it's so good. You can watch this in the movie. Unrolls that out comes Elizabeth Taylor dressed as Queen Cleopatra. But this is real. This really happened. And she's the gift, and she stands up, and she's like dressed to the nines. She's just gotten so beautiful. And like Julius Caesar is immediately like, and he's a lot older than her. I think he's like in his 50s and she's like 17. But she's in seductress mode, and she's like, bow down to me. You're in my palace. Because he's sort of like, oh, like what can I get you? Like let me have a place prepared. And she's like, no. You're in my home. Like you are not welcoming me. You're welcome that you're here. And basically like convinces him. There's a brief civil war. She gets the throne. Her brother is sent away. He ends up drowning in the Nile. So he does die. And, you know, was it an accident? Was it on purpose? Who knows? But this is the beginning of her and Julius Caesar's relationship, is her being unrolled out of a rug and standing up and being like, bow down to me. And there's this iconic scene in the movie with Elizabeth Taylor that when they first meet and they're having a conversation back and forth. And, you know, they're basically, she's saying like, you're going to help me take the throne back. It's mine. And he's kind of like, you know, you have like a lot of words, but you don't actually like, what do you actually have to leverage? Like, why should I help you? And she's saying like, well, I have my own army, and I cannot die by any mortal hand. And he's like, oh yeah, I heard about this. I heard you're obsessed with your so-called divinity. And she's like, and she gets all like, she like sits up straight and she's like, watch your words. She's like, I am Isis. And this is the introduction of her. She didn't believe that she was guided by Isis. She didn't worship Isis. She was the reincarnation of Isis. It wasn't like a deity that she looked up to for wisdom. Like, she believed, and so did her people, that she was Isis. And this scene just gave me chills, or she's like, I am Isis. And he's like, okay. And just rips him a new one over that comment. So this was one my first lessons we can take from Cleopatra, her embodiment of Isis. So whether you work with deities or maybe even the goddess Isis or another goddess, or maybe this is about your spirit team or even your higher self. Like I want you to picture your higher self right now, if that's something that you connect to, and understanding that this relationship is not about putting that deity or that energy or that version of you on a pedestal or above you or something to seek answers from, but being an embodiment of that energy. Right? So I think this is something really powerful we can take from Cleopatra, that I am my higher self. I am my own greatest wisdom. I am the embodiment of Isis, Venus, Aphrodite, name a goddess that maybe you connect to, right? And so when you are like, find yourself like looking for answers, like looking up, so to speak, and saying like, tell me what to do, tell me what to do next, where to go, how to worship you, how to honor you, how to live like you, realizing that that's actually like, you're meant to go with it, and that's in here. It's not up above you. So that scene and this story of how she is Isis, she's not a worshiper of Isis. I felt like that was something really juicy for us to tap into, to play with in our own lives, of like, how can I be rather than look up to? Ooh. That's my lesson number 1 from Cleopatra.
Lesson number 1.
Ooh.
I like that one. We are sort of prepping a sort of similar topic for June in the Alchemy Collective, right? Like,
to be honest, I didn't look at the notes yet. I forgot once I got home.
We'll talk about it next week. It's okay. We will circle back.
I was about to, I was out and about and doing errands, and then I forgot once I got home.
Fine. I should not have put you on the spot. So I really like that. I really love that. I mean, and just like putting anything or anyone on a pedestal, rather than seeing your own wisdom, your own magic, your own divinity, your own truth. Yeah, that's an amazing, amazing lesson. I loved her tenacity. I loved how nobody could take from her what she knew was hers. Like, it would have been easier to be like, I guess this is not for me.
Right. Like, something that I also found really inspiring and something to take from her life and her story is that, like, she was her fucking tenacity, like being like 17 and thrown out of your palace, thrown out of your home, sent to a foreign country. I believe she was sent to Syria, and like that not being a moment where you're like, the world is against me. I get, like, I've lost all hope. But she's like, no, like, let me raise a fucking army and find my way back in and seduce the most powerful man in the world and get him on my side. Like,
what a plan.
That's badass. And you're fucking, and also that you can be a strong, powerful, independent woman. You can also ask for help. You can also be helped. And you can also, say, like, there's nothing weak about saying, like, you're going to help me with this thing. Like, and she had such a way of, like, doing this that, like I said, like, there was just this, like, she had this art of asking for help in a way that it didn't seem like she was asking for help. She used her beauty, her seduction, her femininity to let the man, like, to sort of be like, you're so powerful. Don't you want to, what would be even better? We could take over the world together, right? Like, there's a big emphasis in the movie, and I don't know if this is a romanticized sense, but she's constantly like pushing Julius and pushing Mark Antony, dream bigger. We can have the world, right? Like, she's like, us together, we are so powerful. So she rules Egypt on her own by herself. She doesn't need a man to rule. She doesn't need a man to tell her what to do, but she sees opportunity to expand, to be bigger. And she says, let us do this together. And I think that's a lesson too, of like, we can be strong and independent and grow and rule our own world. And we can also be in partnership, and we can create an even bigger world, and we can, you know, in a sense, metaphorically, we can rule this kingdom in our partnerships, and romantic and otherwise. Like, we don't have to do it all alone. And she also was brilliant at seeing who to surround herself with. You know, like, that's such an important thing that you hear over and over again in the personal development world of like, you're the summary, or the, you know, of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I feel like Cleopatra was so good, so intuitive at being like, I know who I need around me to be the best ruler and to expand and to grow into like the Egypt's full potential. Like, she's just so badass.
She was so smart. I loved what you said about receiving help and not questioning for a second if she was worthy or or that it meant anything to ask for help. She's like, yeah, if we do this together, it'll be better for this reason. Help me. I receive. I wrote down that she really did love her people when there were, I don't know if it was flood. Oh, it was droughts. There was a drought. That makes sense. We're in Egypt. She would open up the granaries, I believe, and she would feed everybody. I mean, she wanted to take care of her people and fight for her people and fight for her place and speak to her people. And it was really, you know, I don't remember spending more than 30 seconds brushing over Cleopatra in any history class I took in 20 years of education. Like, it was very like founding fathers. That was a big emphasis. And so it's sort of like, even though it isn't, it can feel like shocking new information of like, oh, it's sort of like, oh, she was this beautiful woman and she was also a pharaoh. Anyways, like, we move past it. But oh my God, this woman was brilliant and like maybe a fiercer and more compassionate and amazing, like objectively skilled leader than a lot of the people that maybe we've seen in our lifetime.
Yeah, I would argue. I read in one thing that, you know, she's in a list that is made up almost exclusively of men, of the greatest leaders, you know, in the world. Cleopatra is on that list. And that's for a multitude of reasons. But it was, her. And I think that's an important point to make about a woman being a leader, is because we have, and this is something that's connected to Isis as well, the goddess Isis, of the mothering from a standpoint of being a protectress was the word that came up a lot, but a protector, having compassion, where moving from a place of what is for the highest good of all rather than what's for the highest good of the bottom line, right? Of like, there's so much of that today. I feel like the bottom line of like, well, we make profit when we're in war and we, you know, this and that, and these companies are giving the most money to these politicians. And so for the bottom line, this is the better choice. And I think that you can see multiple stories of Cleopatra ruling from a place of what's best for my people, like opening up the palace's personal granaries to make sure they are all fed and taken care of. That's not for the highest good of the quote bottom line, technically, right? But her people loved her. They were devoted to her. They saw her as Isis. They believed she was Isis. And I think that's, you know, another lesson we can tap into is that that living in abundance. Like, yes, I think her worth in today's money is considered to be like $100 billion.
Wow.
And I don't know if that's fact, but that's one thing I read. But let's just say her time ruling Egypt, she was very, 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 very incredibly wealthy. Her family was throughout their 300 years. And she economically, like her dad before her kind of like was sort of not that great of a leader, and everything was fine. Okay. But she like boomed their economy. And so not only did she live in like luxury, these baths, and everything was the drama of like her palaces and her ships that were said to be like covered in gold and all of these things, but that living from an abundant place of like not just abundance for me, abundance for my kingdom. It's if I'm, you know, the only one living in abundance, and what kind of leader am I? Like making sure her people were taken care of, they were fed. It's a lesson definitely to take from that, of like abundance goes so much farther beyond like having a number in the bank account of like, how can I live in perfect abundance and have that like open heart and that compassion and that mothering, that protectress of like my family, my friends, the people I see, you know, doing our best to move through the world with those eyes. Like that's abundance. I thought that was really cool.
I love that. Do you have, is there anything else you want to say about Julius Caesar, or can I tell a little Mark Antony's story?
So just to round out that part of her story, so she ends up having one son with him, Caesarion, which means son of Caesar. And she goes to Rome with her son and lives there for a time. And she's actually living in Rome at the time that Julius Caesar famously is assassinated in the Senate. And then her and her son flee. So this is like tick one for Cleopatra and the Roman Empire. The Roman Senate, like they do not like Cleopatra. She, you know, they're the ones spreading rumors about her being like a seductress, a harlot, you know, like they're the ones really trying to taint her image in Rome because they don't like that she had power over Julius Caesar, the most powerful man in the world. They could see it, that he he bowed down to her in a like political official setting. Like he took a knee. Julius Caesar bows to no one, and he bowed to Cleopatra for the world, you know, to see. So they do not like Cleopatra. Julius Caesar, you know, has this son with her. His wife of many years, like, cannot bear children. And so Cleopatra's like, you know, I can, and you need a son. And so she's really like pushing that her son is meant to like rule. The son is meant to rule the world, you know, like the Roman Empire and Egypt together. They're pretty much ruling everything. And so Julius Caesar is assassinated largely based on that. Like Cleopatra is pushing him to say, like, you're not only master of Rome, like you need to say that you're emperor. You need to have them see you as an even bigger like man than they already see you, and they don't like this. So they assassinate him. Cleopatra flees with her son, and in the movie they show like Mark Antony. So Mark Antony is like Caesar's right-hand man, and he's like, don't leave, like I'll take care of this, like I'll make sure nothing happens to you. But she flees. And so this is sort of the end of the story with Julius Caesar. So she has one son with Julius Caesar. His name is Caesarion. And then we can go into, I believe it's 3 years later, her and Mark Antony reunite.
Oh, I have a good story. I just sounded my phone.
Incredibly romantic story.
When I was at the Vatican Museum a few weeks ago, there was, and this was so exciting, there was a statue of Cleopatra. The portrait of the Queen of Egypt was sculpted in Rome while she was a guest of Julius Caesar. And here she is. She's stunning.
Stunning.
But I was like, oh my God, it's like, you know, the closest thing we'll ever see to a photograph of her. So I thought that was pretty cool. So as the story goes, so, you know, this woman fights wars. Oh, you won't let me in? Roll me up in a carpet. Carry me in. Just, oh, you're going to take over my throne? Don't worry. I'll build an army of 20,000 people. Oh, You smelled me? Yes, that's because I soaked my sails in perfume. She's incredible. So, I guess she wasn't interested in Mark. I'm going to call him Mark. She wasn't that interested in him at first. And then when she realized it would be very beneficial politically and it would help her secure some more power and some more relationships, she's like, well, maybe I'll give him a chance. I think he had tried to, I could be misremembering this, but I feel like he tried to like call on her and she was like, whatever. And then it like clicked that she was like, oh, I should probably give this guy the time of day. Does this
well, okay, I don't know about that part. I know they were like genuinely like madly in love. It's one of the greatest love stories of all time. And there's like stories of them. But maybe she wasn't interested at first. I don't know. Okay. But he did call for her, I believe 3 times. He sent his men to Egypt to say like call and Cleopatra was like, no man calls upon me. If Mark Antony wants to see me, he can come to Egypt. I will meet with him only on Egyptian land. And then this is what's fucking iconic and amazing.
Here it is.
So she's like, no. She's like refusing his callings because so there's a story that they met when they were children. Or like when I think he's a little bit older than her too. So she was a child and like he was like a young soldier in the ranks. Like he was not like the famous general he is at this time. And that they had this like sort of like moment. Like there was like chemistry there where they he always, and then when she comes to Rome, in the movie, it's so extravagant, her entrance into Rome with her son. This is part of why like the Roman Senate hates her. She's parading her, her son who's, out of wedlock and saying like, I have Caesar's son here, we've arrived. And like, from this moment on, Mark Antony's like, oh my fucking God, like upset, but like he's right-hand man to Caesar. That's his girl. Mm-hmm. So this is 3 years later. He's calling on her. I think it was like 3 or 4 times. She refuses him. She's like, no. The queen is not called upon. You can come to the queen. But then she does this iconic move where she decides to sail there to where he is, which is Tarsus, I believe. And she's in this boat, this like golden gilded boat, with like silver oars. She's dressed as Venus. She's got her like she's got like men and women around her dressed as like Cupid and Aphrodite. There's these her in the movie, she's there, you can see like purple smoke, that's her perfume, but her perfume is wafting through the air. And she's on this like throne, and she arrives. And so he sends someone down. He's like, yes. And he sends someone down and he's like, Queen Cleopatra is here. Like, we'd like to invite her to dinner. And her guy, they're never speaking for themselves. Her guy is like, oh no, Queen Cleopatra meant what she said. She will not meet with Mark Antony unless it is on Egyptian soil. And the guy's like, but you're here. Like, you're here in Tarsus. And he's like, no, you're in Tarsus. We are on Egyptian soil on the boat. And so Mark Antony agrees to go on the boat, and there's like this extravagant dinner, and it's set from then on out, game over. They're like madly in love with each other. But this is one of the things where I'm like, this is so badass, and shows such like, she's like, there's something to pull from this too, of like holding strong in your standards, but like there's like this willingness to like meet halfway, or like, but she's like, well, technically you're still agreeing to my terms, but I'll come to you, but you still have to agree to what I said. So she never goes back on her word, but she'll like make these moves, and it's all extravagant and over the top. And it's said that then the next night she agrees to like go to dinner on land, and like the dinner is so lame compared to like the party that she threw, and like Mark Antony's embarrassed, but she's like pretends to be, and she's like, let's get drunk, and like pretend like she's very like, she's so strong in her embodiment of the goddess, but she's very like, she still leans into like the masculine of just like, no, like you're doing great, sweetie. Like she's very like she'll meet she's willing to move. She takes action. She's willing to lead, but she's not willing to like compromise her word and her boundaries. It's so inspiring. And just something to take when it comes to like your own partnerships or being out in the dating world, of like standing in your values, but also finding, you know, the compromises while still not compromising a fraction of what you want, what you desire, and what you deserve, and what you stand for. So it's another one of the most, you know, iconic stories of her sailing into, I believe it was Tarsus, to tell Mark Antony, oh no, you're still meeting on Egyptian ground. Like I'm not I'm not compromising. You're still but I brought the Egyptian ground to you. You're welcome. Iconic.
Oh my gosh. And what a move. She said, what goddess shall I embody today? Aphrodite. Do Aphrodite today. And just went all in. I love that story. Mm-hmm. She's so bold. She's so bold. And I love the, what is it called? Duality of, you know, I'm gorgeous and I'm powerful and I'm fierce and I'm sexy and I'm willing to be helped. And I'm also an amazing business person. And I'm also a leader. And I also am very direct. And I'm also like, it's this really fun example of like, oh, you can kind of be it all. And sometimes we have a lot more role models of that now, for sure. But she's like a timeless one. I just love it. It's not about like, you know, pick 3 characteristics and that's who you will be. It's like, you can be it all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I love that. I remember reading something about how the two of them, they were you're totally right. They were madly in love. They were total troublemakers together. They would put on disguises and go into the town and like party with all the people and then sneak back into the palace. They really just wanted to have a good time. Yeah. Which I thought was really fun. And, you know, the next notes I have to do with how she went out. So you go ahead, fill in any blanks leading up to there.
So she has her relationship with Mark Antony. They end up having 3 children. They have twins and another child. I can't remember if the twins came first. It doesn't really matter, but they have 3 children together. And yeah, like the stories about them are so sweet. They're just so in love. They have so much fun together. They have a drinking club that the name of it was so funny. It was basically something about like eliminating the liver. Like it was reminiscent of that vibe, like something about like destroying the liver drinking club. Like it's so funny. And she, you know, I just feel like when she was with Mark Antony, she was able to like really like relax and be in her playful nature. Like she, you know, she was ruling Egypt this whole time. She's ruling Egypt on her own. She's building the economy. Egypt has never been richer. Egypt has never been more powerful. And I think never will be again so far in history as at this point in time when Cleopatra is the pharaoh. And I think her relationship with Mark Antony, that it's this place where she gets to like sink into like being her, not Cleopatra the pharaoh, not Cleopatra the you know, the intellectual, but this is where she gets to like, this is the energy I feel into when I read stories about them of, yeah, like they're like playing pranks. They're like showing up at people's houses and being like, hey, your pharaoh's here, you know, like, ha ha ha, we're here. Isn't that funny? Like they just have so much fun together. There's so many cute stories and they really do have, I think it was very much, it's no accident that she's going after all these leaders of Rome. She wants power. She wants power for her children. She's such a strong mother who's looking out for her children's futures. But by, I don't know, the stars being aligned or whatever, her and Mark Antony do have a very genuine, like, soulmate relationship, I think. And just so happens that it's also, you know, beneficial to her. And this makes Rome hate her even more because they're like, this bitch has not only conquered Julius Caesar, but is now conquering another one of our leaders. Absolutely not. And Rome at this time, so after Julius Caesar is assassinated, in his will, Octavian, his nephew, is meant to follow him. He did not have his son as his what's the word I'm looking for? Like
predecessor?
Yeah. Because he knew that would be dangerous because he was a son out of his, you know, Roman recognized marriage. He did marry Cleopatra in Egypt, but the Romans didn't recognize that as legitimate. So Octavian steps into the role, and when in Rome that you become Caesar, like so he takes on the name of Caesar. He becomes the new Caesar. And then Mark Antony's like the right-hand man of Julius Caesar. So it's sort of like there's this balance of power that's being figured out between Mark Antony and Octavian. Mark Antony, madly in love with Cleopatra. Octavian says, you need to marry my sister, Octavia. Very creative names. And so he does to sort of appease Rome. And Octavian knows that, like, I think this is before. In the movie, it's portrayed as after. But I believe, actually, in history, he marries Octavia and then meets Cleopatra and calls for her and is deciding to pursue that relationship. And so Octavian kind of knows this is what's going to happen. And so this is so that he wants Mark Antony to piss off Rome. This is a strategy. He's like, I want the Senate on my side. I want the people on my side. Because Mark Antony is sort of a celebrity. He's like an incredible general. He's led battles and battles and battles, and he's just this iconic figure. And Octavian, he doesn't have this military glory. He's not as like respected as a man. It's more of his lineage, right? So Octavian's like, I got to get rid of this guy. So Mark Antony's whole relationship with Cleopatra just continues to get like manipulated and it's like the modern day, like the media, twisting stories around and stuff. How do we spin this against? So ultimately, what happens is that Cleopatra and Mark Antony are, together, and they're going to fight this war with Rome, with Octavian and his troops. And if this was, a Hollywood made up story, we would have Mark Antony and Cleopatra ending in glory and ruling the world together. But sadly, that's not what happens. Mm. And so they have this huge naval battle. They lose. Mark Antony and Cleopatra flee. This puts Mark Antony into like this deep depression because he feels like he's not a man. He feels like he failed his people, that he fled and he didn't die in battle. And it's this whole big thing. Cleopatra brings them out of it. They decide to go back into war, but they know they have 2 legions of men against 20 legions of men. I believe a legion is 10,000 or 20,000 men or something. I don't remember, but
I will look.
Cleopatra and Mark Antony, they know that Rome is coming. They know they don't have a chance, but they decide, we're going into battle anyways. We're not going down without a fight. We're not going, they want to go down in honor, basically. And so ultimately what ends up happening is, Rome is coming, and sadly, they both commit suicide. Mark Antony stabs himself, and Cleopatra, she makes arrangements for her children to make sure they're safe, sends them away. And it's said that she gets a poisonous snake, an asp, to bite her. And she basically is like, I will not be ruled by anyone. I would rather die, because basically what was going to happen, Rome came in and Octavian was like, or Caesar was like, you're going to come to Rome with me, you're going to walk by my side. And what that means is that they're going to humiliate her. Like, if you watch Game of Thrones, the way they make Cersei walk through the streets like naked with her hair all cut off, like that's what they were going to do to Cleopatra. Something along those lines of just like humiliating her. And she was like, I am Queen Cleopatra. Like, I will die before I allow you to do such a thing to me. So she takes her own life. So that is the story of Mark Antony and Julius Caesar and Cleopatra. And it does have a very sad, disappointing ending, right? Like the Hollywood in me is like, but they're supposed to live happily ever after. But she was a woman who was so stubborn in her values to the end. And it really is an incredible story. And I have a few other lessons I kind of wrote down, but is there anything you want to add to the story that I missed?
I want to say that I think she also arranged for the two of them to be buried together, and it was a huge wish and intention of hers that she would never be found. She's like, no one will ever find me, and no one ever has.
To this day.
So we think, people think it's probably somewhere underwater now. But you never know. But I think it's amazing that her last like intention and order was like, and you will never find me. No one ever did. Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I want to hear more about your lessons.
So let me go through my little list. So to recap some that we already talked about together, really embracing your own beauty, your own power, your own goddess-like energy that I am, right? Like not placing your higher self or your deity on a pedestal, but being the embodiment of that energy. Just remember that. Owning it. She owned that energy. She was like, I am goddess. I don't look up to the goddess. I don't worship the goddess. I am goddess, right? You can do the same. Something to play with this week. I think another thing that we can take from Cleopatra is she listened to her intuition. She trusted her intuition. Mm-hmm. She followed. She was always, intuition is always going to lead us to be big in our lives, to keep going, ego is the one that tells us you've been beaten, give up, it's over, right? It has the stories. Mm-hmm. And every time that it looked like things weren't going her way, she followed her intuition and she found a way to get what she wanted. She was incredibly intuitive. And this also played a key into her being brilliant. There's moments portrayed, again, I know this is a Hollywood movie, but there's moments portrayed that I think are taken from history. For instance, the day that Julius Caesar is going to go to the Senate, the day he ends up getting assassinated, where she's like, do not let Mark Antony leave your side. I don't think you should go today. Like, she's incredibly intuitive. She knows, just like she knows when Rome is coming, she knows when it's over, and she knows, cultivating, trusting your intuition, leading with your intuition. I think that's a big lesson we can take from Cleopatra, and living boldly, even when it's scary. There's a beautiful line in the movie that when she's preparing to send off her children, in the movie, they only portray one child, Caesar's son. But he says, he's a little boy and she's sending him off because Rome is coming. And he says something like, I'm scared. And he's like embarrassed. He's like, I'm scared, but I shouldn't be because I'm a king. And she says, oh, no, kings and queens are scared. The difference between a king or a queen and like the regular people is that like we don't show it and we keep going. And so, not that you can't show that you're scared, but she embraced the fear and she said, I'm going to keep going anyway. So it wasn't that Cleopatra was immune to fear or immune to doubt, but she was so strong in her conviction to follow like her big vision for her world, right? So trusting her intuition despite any fear that might come up. I think embracing your like beauty, embracing your femininity, embracing your sensuality. Like she was so you know, so in her feminine energy. Like we talked about, like she was willing to make small compromises, but she always remained in control. She always upheld her boundaries. She always upheld her values. She had this beautiful way of like, yeah, she was obsessed with beauty. Yeah, she was obsessed with luxury, but like she also was in her fucking power. Like you can have both. You can be obsessed with the outfit that you're wearing today and also go do badass shit. Like it's not one or the other. I think sometimes like women who want to dress really femininely or wear a lot of makeup or whatever, it's like, oh, well then we don't take them as seriously. And I just say that in a general societal sense. And she was like, no, like I'm going to be the most I'm going to spread rumors of my beauty, right? Like I'm going to be the most beautiful. To this day, we are obsessed with, we can't stop talking about, was she the most beautiful woman in the world? Like, you know, she's just like smug about that in her tomb, hanging out in her Egyptian spirit world, where she's like, to this day, they're fucking talking about my beauty. So embracing that, if that's something you feel called to, like we can be sensual, beautiful, feminine creatures, and we can also rule the fucking world. So I think that's a lesson. And she used her voice. And I think this is something that we also in today's society, right? Like we fear taking up space. We fear being a bother. We fear saying the wrong thing. Someone will misunderstand what we meant, or maybe we'll fuck up, right? I am a goddess. The mug. Which you can go goddesshangs.com/shop.
Goddess, you said?
And Cleopatra used her voice. She was famous. That's what Plutarch said. He was like, she might not be the most beautiful woman in the world, but when she opened her mouth, it was intoxicating. Like it was her way with words, her voice. So feeling so much power in your voice to speak up for what you want, to inspire and motivate the people in your world, to speak your dreams into existence. Like she was not afraid to say like, I want to rule the world. I want to rule the world, and you're going to help me do it. And you're going to help me do it. And she stood for what she wanted, even though we could say that's ridiculous. Rule the world, Cleopatra? Really? Isn't ruling Egypt the most bountiful, abundant, being the richest country in the world, that's not enough for you? And she was like, no! I want the fucking world. So I think there's something to take from that too. It's okay if you have a lot in your life. You can want more. There's nothing wrong with that. Look at the way she wanted more, and she always provided. She was always a provider for her people, for her children. It wasn't just about her. She wanted it for, she knew she was a good leader. Like she was like, no, me being in my biggest, boldest desires and expression, like this is for all of you motherfuckers. Like this is for your good. I think there's something really powerful to take from that too.
I love her. Every new piece of information I learn about her, I just love her. There are some rumors about her, some myths that have been debunked. So there was a myth that she invented the vibrator, that she took took a swarm of angry bees and stuck them in a gourd. But that's apparently not true, which is good. We don't want to anger the bees. What else? I just think she's, there's something really exciting about a woman who is a leader, who is unapologetic, who is fully expressed in all the sides of herself, and, you know, goes big and has boundaries and knows who she is. And like, she's just, and the over the top, like, you can come on my boat on my terms, and I'm going to dress like Aphrodite.
Right. She's like, technically you are on Egyptian soil, so I still won.
Actually, this is my land, so you're still doing it my way. And he's like, I mean, I'll do it anyway. You're here.
Yeah. That's so badass to be like, oh, he hasn't come all the way here. Well, I'll go there, but I'm still going to win this argument. I'm still going to be right.
Love. And I wore a headband today because apparently a headband, she wore a headband to symbolize like power and strength, or there was something royal and special about headbands. So I thought I'll wear my Cleopatra inspired headband. Now I don't believe hers had all the sparkles, but maybe it did. I wasn't there.
She had a lot of jewels and different wigs.
Jewels.
The iconic wigs with like the gold and the beads, that was, you know, her famous thing. And I saw one of the things I watched this morning, I was like trying to like consume as much as possible yesterday and this morning and the day before, but that the women in Rome started wearing the wigs like that with the beads and the things, and it was such a fashion phenomenon that there's all of these the statue, they called it like the statutories, because everyone, that was like the, you know, your photo back then was like getting a bust of your head, like a statue of you. They all had these wigs on, so there's all of these statues where they're like, this isn't Cleopatra, but like they get mistaken for Cleopatra all the time because she started this, like, she was like trending with her.
She was
her
a trendsetter. She was viral.
Yeah.
She went viral.
Truly. She was maybe the world's first influencer.
Oh, she definitely was. She had her perfume brand. She had her hairstyle. One of my favorite funny comparisons, you know how, is it Vogue or Architectural Digest that does those, like, or maybe it's somebody else, like 70 questions, or they walk around and it's very staged and the celebrities answer the questions. Yeah. Anyways, there's one where it's like, what's one thing you can't live without? And Selena Gomez said, my family. And I was like, that's really sweet. And Kim Kardashian said, like, my KKW beauty contour stick. And I was like, that's a Cleopatra move right there. And when you see them back to back, it's very funny, and I respect both answers.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I'm like, the more that Cleo was described with like her wealth and her power and her influence, and then like wanting to give back and care about the people and lead, and I was like, she was like the original Kardashian in some ways.
Honestly, I was just going to say, you know, look, I don't want to say the Kardashians are these angelic, amazing people. I'm not saying that at all. However, Kim does do a lot of incredible things. Yeah, you know, she has all of her businesses and all this stuff, but she like really gets into the nitty-gritty of like prison reform and all of these different things that are really needed and necessary in our country. I saw that she recently like paid for the fees for like 50 women who were sent like back to prison because they just couldn't pay whatever, I don't know, fees they had to pay when they were finally released, like things like this. And I'm like, you know, that's like Cleopatra energy, right? Like, what can I do? Like Cleopatra, like loved her people. She's like, what can I do but it wasn't just to like help, you know, like she's also like, let me entertain them. Let me like go be with them, whatever. And I love that. And that when we just brought up Kim K, I was like, you know what? I think she takes a little bit of the Cleopatra energy sometimes of just like really trying to give back to the people, specifically with all of her awesome work with prison reform and things like that. So, you know, shout out Kim K for your Cleopatra moments. Good for you.
Absolutely. Also, just like, I mean, ethically it seems wrong, but also from like a financial perspective, doesn't it cost more money to rehouse prisoners than to either waive that fee or
No. So prison is privatized. So the more people in it, the more money they get, the more money they make. They want people back in the system. That's why our country is completely fucked, because it's privatized prison system. So there's no push for reform because they make money by everyone cycling back in over and over and over again.
Are any of them public or no?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, Juliet here needs to do a little more research, because I always think people say things like it costs this amount of money for each.
Well, maybe for the taxpayers. I don't know. I think they get money from the government. But for the privatized prisons themselves and the people that make money from the prison system, they make money. But look, I don't know the ins and outs. Maybe from a taxpayer's perspective or from the government's perspective, because they're subsidizing things. Maybe it costs more for that. But for the people that own the prisons, they want people to come back into them. So there's vicious cycles. I mean, the percent of people that continue to go back into prison, it's really awful.
Maybe that shouldn't have been privatized.
Oh no, never.
Call me a radical person, but maybe that shouldn't have been privatized. Yeah,
watch Orange is the New Black.
I took some classes in college that were sort of around this topic, and now it's sort of swimming back into my brain, and now I want to revisit that information. Yeah. All because of a little lady called Cleopatra. No, okay. Because it's important and because I should know more.
Yeah, I don't know everything either, but I'm just interested in I don't know. I keep up with I don't keep up with like Kim K's fashion trends, but I'm like, what has she been up to lately with her lawyer stuff? Because that's what she does. And I don't know. I just keep up with that because I think it's really inspiring and really amazing that she does it. Mm-hmm. And all the other stuff she does gets far overshadowed most of the time, I feel like, and it isn't talked about as much. So, yeah, just very inspiring in that aspect.
Well, what a journey we went on today. We went back 2,000 years in time together with you.
I hoped everyone loved this episode. We were thinking of doing more episodes in this style where we pick like a goddess figure or an inspiring woman and talk about her story and the lessons we can learn from her. I already want to do Beyonce. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Oh my God, I love her.
I want to do Beyonce and Dolly Parton and, of course, goddesses, Aphrodite, Venus, learning about their stories and their lives and what we can learn from them. So let us know if you loved this style of podcast episode, because we really loved learning and creating it for you. And pop in our DMs, give us requests, tell us about this woman and what we could learn from her. We think that'd be really fun. So
Judy Hopps.
Who's Judy Hopps?
No. It was a joke. It's the bunny from Zootopia, but she has an amazing story.
I am in. Cartoon characters, Miss Piggy. Lessons
for, what, Miss Piggy in one word, unapologetic.
I was just going to say that. I've always said that.
Judy Hopps.
Who are some women you look up to? Judy Hopps and Miss Piggy.
Everyone's homework is to watch Zootopia.
Such a good movie. So in conclusion, we love Cleopatra. We're going to practice embodying her energy, learning, really taking her lessons to heart and and using them in our lives. Don't forget to RSVP for our free Discover Divine Purpose event. And this month, you can get half off your first month of the Alchemy Collective. Use code HALFOFF. We've had incredible calls and masterclasses this month. We're focusing on abundance and pleasure and fun and magnetizing money into our lives with this Taurus season energy. It's been so yummy, so fun. There's tons for you to catch up on. We're so excited to welcome you in. And it's the last chance for Bali. So thank you all for listening every week. We love you. We adore you. Go embody your inner Cleopatra. Bad bitch, ruler of your world this week. Let us know how it goes. And make sure you're following us on social media. The same handles on Instagram and TikTok at Goddess Hangs. I am Sadie Olson.
I'm at Juliet.Piper. We love you so much. Thank you, Cleopatra, for joining us today. Mwah! We will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye, Goddesses.